Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. This is week 1 of a brand new 5-week sermon series in Matthew 13. So if you got a Bible, go ahead and get Matthew 13 in front of you. But it's also, and you just heard that, the launch of a 2-year journey of discipleship that we've called Kingdom Come. And Kingdom Come is anchored in 4 invitation that Jesus gives right here in Matthew 13, where he shares the secret to living in real time, in real life, the answer to his prayer. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And in fact, as we get going, I want to invite you and actually even challenge you to pray that prayer every single day over the next at least 5 weeks as we launch into this 2-year season together. Your kingdom come, your will be done in my world as it is in heaven. That is a really simple prayer to pray. It's kind of dangerous to pray, but it's a simple prayer to pray. And yet my prayer is that by the end of this 2-year journey together, every single one of us would be able to say that we have personally experienced the breathtaking, world-shaping, incredibly fun, absolute full force of what happens when an entire congregation, and really 3 entire congregations of individuals, each pray that prayer sincerely and expectantly and responsively together. Okay, so to invite you into Kingdom Come, I need to tell you a secret. But before I tell you a secret, I want to draw your attention to something that you already noticed when you walked in. Now is the time, okay? So if you're sitting on this side of the aisle, there's a stack of books there. Would you just grab that stack of books and pass it down to anybody else that's on your aisle? So on your right, my left, there'll be a stack of books. If you're the furthest person over there, go ahead and grab that and pass it on down the row. And as you're passing that, we can multitask. Let me just tell you what you're getting. I'm hoping that this is going to be a guide for every single one of us for at least the next 5 weeks together, okay? So when you open it up, and just I'll save you having to flip through it. When you open it up, you'll see a table of contents. Then you'll see a letter from me and some stories that are there. You'll see in writing some of the stuff that Brian and Jose Luis and I just talked about on that video, because I did happen to notice that all of you weren't taking notes. So the truth is, a whole bunch of us, for us, we do better if we read it rather than hear it. So you can do that. If you are joining us online, if you'll go to kingdomcomefw.com and click resources, you'll be able to get that digital version of the same guidebook that we have there. And really for all of us, kingdomcomefw.com, if you hit that resources tab, when it comes to that simple, dangerous prayer I just told you about, there are some home screen, lock screens, pictures that you can take to help remind you of that prayer as you go. There's all kinds of stuff there at kingdomcomefw.com. You can do that. But if you just keep flipping through here, you'll see notes for all 5 weeks of the sermon series in Matthew 13. And right at the very beginning, I just want to challenge you to try to engage every single one of those 5 weeks. I know it's a busy season. I know you got a lot of reasons not to engage it. I just want to challenge you to engage every single week of these messages and this whole series in Matthew 13. Each of those messages is unique, and every single one of them is really, really vital to what it is that Jesus is inviting you into as a follower of him. So over the next 5 weeks, you got some places for notes there. You got some devotionals over the week to extend this beyond just Sunday. You got some questions for your community group. I hope you are in a community group. And if you're not in a community group, that you would at least step into one for 5 weeks during this season. So the next 5 weeks, you can stop by the Next Step Center after this is over. There's a Kingdom Come hub in the lobby. We can get you connected to one that's near you. And we'd love to invite you into one of those even for just 5 weeks. And then you say, I'm done. That is okay with us for now. So hop into that. Or if you just want to grab some friends, everything you need is right there. Call some friends. All the questions are right there. Start a community group. You can do it right where you're at. So you'll see there. Then if you keep going in that guide, one of the things that you'll see is there are 2 big goals that we have for this whole 2-year journey together. And I want you to see both of those, okay? So the first one, you'll see a primary goal in that is that 100% of the people who call Doxology their home. So if you're our guest today, we are so glad that you are here for this. You're on the front end of something we're going to be talking about for the next couple of years. If you consider Doxology your home, this goal applies to you, okay? So 100% 100% of the people that call Doxology their home would engage each of the 4 invitations of Jesus that we're going to introduce in this series. So that's our primary goal. So we talk a lot about praying big prayers. That's our big prayer that we're praying about this season, 100% engagement. Because look, I know it's easy, especially in a church our size, to sort of draft off of the people around you and say, man, I'm glad I get to be a part of a church that's doing this kind of stuff. It's awesome. I love some of the stuff that we're able to do. I'm glad that I get to be a part of a church that gets to do stuff like that. But when it comes to engaging stuff, there's always somebody that can engage better than me, that can give more than me, that can serve better than me, that can go further than me. So I'm just not going to engage personally at all because somebody else will do it, and I'll just ride the wave that their engagement creates. Can I just challenge you? I think that would be a miss. And not just a miss for us, I believe to the core of my bones that would be a miss for you as an individual as you follow Jesus, okay? Because each of these 4 invitations that Jesus is going to give are invitations to things that Jesus say could stand between you and the life that he's designed for you. So 100% engagement in this is the number one thing I'm praying for. You'll see there is a secondary goal in this journey together. The secondary goal is that we believe as all of us engage, that God will provide $18.5 million over the next 2 years as each of us step into the generosity portion of what we believe he's calling all of us to do. So if you need context for that number, that's a big number, okay? So that's a stretch in generosity of about $3 million a year over what all 3 of our congregations gave last year. Okay, a stretch of about $3 million a year for the next 2 years is what that number represents. Listen, that is our secondary goal in this initiative. Okay, so can I tell you what that means? Here's what that means. If one of you hears that number, $18.5 million, and goes, sure, I think I could do that. Would you take a check? The answer is yes. So come catch me after the service. We'll take that to the bank tomorrow. We'll just deposit it. We'll celebrate like crazy, you and I together. And then do you know what we would do right after that? We would do Kingdom Come exactly the way that we're planning to do Kingdom Come, because it's only our secondary goal. We want every one of us to have a chance to engage all 4 of Jesus' invitations here, not just for one of us to engage one of them. All right, so it's a secondary goal. Kingdom Come's a discipleship journey. It is not all about money. It is not all about money. And Jesus says that your heart will follow your money 100% of the time. So if a discipleship initiative does not include a generosity component, it is not a discipleship journey. Even though that's our secondary goal, that commitment card that's in there is going to be the primary way that my family, and Lord willing, your family as well, or you as an individual, reflect your engagement for this first leg of a journey that will have 4 legs over the next couple of years. Okay, so just take that. You don't know what to do with that yet. Just take that, put that someplace that you put important things, and maybe even whenever you see it, all I'm going to ask is that you just pray that simple, dangerous prayer over that over the next few weeks, right? Lord, your kingdom come, your will be done in this area of my world as it is in heaven. And then on Sunday, November the 16th, we're all going to have a church-wide commitment Sunday where we get to show our engagement and turn in those commitments all together. Okay, so that's going to be November the 16th. You can know about that. All right, we good? All right, Matthew 13. Matthew 13 is where we're going to be. And if you want to open up that series guide, I think it's page 16 is where that sermon notes start. Matthew chapter 13. Let me just set the scene for you in Matthew 13, okay? This is early in Jesus' ministry, and 2 things are happening at the same time in Jesus' ministry here. Okay, he is becoming far more popular, it seems, every single day, and he is becoming far less popular, it seems, every single day. Do you feel that a little in our world these days too? Like at the same time, Jesus is a whole lot more popular these days and a whole lot less popular these days. In the chapter right before this one, Jesus has shown who he is, and there were some people that got it. In fact, a lot of people that got it. And a whole bunch of people that rose up against him, including his own family. And right in the middle of that, actually literally on that same day, Jesus extends an invitation for people to lean in with him and go deeper. In fact, look what he says, Matthew chapter 13, beginning in verse 1. It says, that same day, Matthew's telling us his story, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables. That's where we're going to spend the next 5 weeks. We're going to look at each one of the parables that Jesus tells here in Matthew 13. But today I want to show you why Jesus teaches this way. Skip down to verse 10. The disciples came to him, that's Jesus, and asked him, why do you speak to the people in parables? He replied, because the knowledge of, check this out, the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you, but not to them. The secrets of the kingdom of heaven, that's pretty awesome, isn't it? I mean, would you want in on something like that? Now, I don't know if you've noticed in our world these days, it turns out the secret to everything in our world is a secret. Have you noticed this? In fact, as I started to notice this, I just decided last week I was going to pay attention to all of the things that got sold to me as a secret. Everything that got promoted or advertised as a secret. Here's what I saw. I saw, just this last week, the secret to investing, Bitcoin, leadership, weight loss, hair growth, hair removal, marriage, sexual intimacy, performance, arousal, an ingredient for cooking, a woman named Victoria and someone named Sarah, a tool for building power, physical health, retirement, learning a language, flying first class, Fortnite, sports gambling, fantasy football, wedding plans, window cleaning, dishwashing, reducing wrinkles, interior decorating, biceps, six packs, marathon training, and the fountain of youth, which is one messed up algorithm. And it also says something really powerful about our world, doesn't it? Everyone in virtually every area of our world believes that all of us are missing something we won't figure out on our own. So here's a question. What if our collective longings for all those things are indicators that our heart desires are tuned towards just one thing? That we've got an internal homing beacon that points us towards God's design for life with a capital L that's been broken, would someday be repaired and restored. And what if we don't have to wait until we die to begin living into that and living from that and living towards it wherever we live? So Jesus talks here about the secrets of the kingdom of heaven. And just in case you're just getting to know Jesus these days, Jesus is obsessed with the kingdom of heaven. So think about this. The very first words recorded out of his mouth in the scriptures, he's talking about the kingdom of heaven. The very last words he spoke on earth, he's talking about the kingdom of heaven. And all throughout the middle, on almost every single page of the gospel, Jesus says, the kingdom is like this. Or the kingdom's like that. And even more than that, he would say, in the kingdom, there won't be blindness at all. Watch this with a blind man. It's, in the kingdom, there won't be dying. There won't be grieving. There won't be sadness or tears or shame or brokenness or religious scammers. Watch this. And he'd lean into a moment and give them a glimpse in real life, real time, right there in front of them. Okay, so what's the kingdom? Seems like an important question. Lots of facets to it. It shows up all throughout the scriptures. But if you want a really simple definition of the kingdom, remember this one. The kingdom is the goodness and grace of Jesus ruling every area of every heart. Okay, the goodness and grace of Jesus ruling every area of every heart. That's what the kingdom is, and it's what it someday will be in full. And here Jesus says to the people that follow him, I want to tell you the secret by telling these parables. So what's a parable? Okay, parable is actually a cool word. It's a mashup of two words, the word para and the word bole. So bole is the Greek word for throw, and para means beside. So what a parable is, it's a story that gets thrown beside a truth. So you might think about it like an illustration. And there's something that you don't understand. A good teacher will say, okay, well, you don't understand that. Do you understand this? And you say, oh, yeah, I understand this. Okay, well, this is like that. And here's how. Except Jesus starts telling these parables to the crowd, but he doesn't make the connection for them. Okay, so he gets this huge crowd, sits them all down on the shore. He stands in a boat. Then he begins to speak. He says, okay, so a farmer scattered some seeds. Some of it grew, some of it blew away. Some of it got choked out. There were weeds and a mustard seed and yeast and a fish net and a treasure chest with a pearl. And it's so weird that Matthew interrupts the first story to tell us he thought it was weird too. In fact, all the guys thought it was weird. The guys pulled Jesus aside later that day. Just imagine the scene. They said, hey, Jesus. So big crowd today, huh? Yeah. Man, that was exciting. A lot of people today. So just one question, Jesus. What are you doing? Jesus tells him what he was doing, verse 13. He says, this is why I speak to them in parables. Look what he says. Though seeing, they don't see. Though hearing, they don't hear or understand. In them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah. You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You ever feel like that? Ever seeing, but never perceiving. Why? For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears. They've closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and in turn, I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and hear what you hear, but didn't hear it. Okay, so a lot here we could talk about. Let me just highlight three big things for us real quick as we launch into this initiative. Okay, first, what was Jesus doing with these parables? Here's what he says. Parables are invitations disguised as illustrations. What's a parable? A parable is an invitation disguised as an illustration. But wait, invitations to what? Okay, the secrets of the kingdom, yes. But notice what it is and what it's not. The invitation is not just an invitation to gain more information, is it? It's not just about helping Jesus illustrate facts for us to assimilate in our head. Jesus says, I'm telling you these parables as invitations to two things. Okay, first he tells us these invitations are invitations to intimacy. These are invitations to intimacy. And you notice that in verse 13? Jesus said, hey, there's a whole group of people who seeing, they don't see. Who hearing, don't understand. Okay, so if you finished kindergarten, you're qualified to answer this next question. What do you do if you hear a teacher say something and you don't get it? What do? Yeah, he knows. You raise your hand. You ask. You lean in. Why did Jesus speak in parables? Because this was about more than just conveying content. Jesus tells parables as a way of dividing the crowd between people who just wanted to be entertained, who just maybe wanted to be inspired or accumulate information that they could pick apart and argue with, and the people that would lean in to the next level with him and ask. He wants to earn their trust, not just inform their minds. So he says something intentionally obscure to draw out the people who are interested in him rather than just the fringe benefits of what he offered them. Okay, so pay attention to that. To respond to Jesus' invitation, you don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to have been in church your whole life. You don't have to have a predisposition to spiritual things. Right? You don't have to feel rich. You don't have to feel like you got influence or status or power or even to have all your stuff together. You just have to have a heart that's willing to slow down and lean into Jesus and ask. And realize everyone won't. In fact, Jesus made these truths just challenging enough to expose some of our hardness of heart. Some of us really don't want to know what Jesus means by the secrets of the kingdom. Because the truth is, we really don't want to live in the kingdom of heaven unless we get to stay the king. In fact, the truth is, we'd sort of like for the kingdom of heaven to be a little like a commonwealth, like Canada with the UK. Like they're technically related to the King of England, but nobody really knows how. He stays away, and they pretty much rule themselves. But they sing God Save the King at hockey games, and they mean it. If they ever really needed him, they'd expect him to show up and then get right back out of the way. Right? That's what some of us are after when it comes to Jesus. But it's not what he wants most for us. Especially, come on, with our track record for ruling our own lives and his goodness and grace on offer. Look, a good king wouldn't let us settle for a lesser king. So these parables are illustrations. But beyond that, they're invitations to intimacy with a great king who will always lead your life towards goodness and grace. Invitations to intimacy. But they're also, a second thing, they're invitations to intimacy, they're also invitations to engage. Invitations to engage. Jesus didn't just tell these parables to hide truth, but to draw us into it, to put it on the bottom shelf, to make it memorable so that it could be livable. Jesus doesn't just throw these out here for us to nod or even take great notes. These are truths, that have to be engaged to be enjoyed. Look at verse 15. Jesus lays out this chain reaction of engagement. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears. They've closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears. Then what would happen? They would understand with their hearts and turn, and I would heal them. Okay, there's movement there. Do you see it? Engagement begins with perception, hearing and seeing, but it's meant to continue from information to transformation. And transformation only happens with participation. The parables that Jesus tells are not complete until a person steps into them. Okay, that's what Jesus means when he says, whoever has ears, let him hear. He's not just saying pay attention. He's saying act on what you hear. Because in the kingdom of God, hearing is never the end goal. Healing is. Wholeness is. And healing comes to those who turn, who respond, who risk stepping in, leaning in, and allowing the goodness and grace of Jesus to transform an area of their life toward the way that he designed it to work best, away from all of the ways that we broke. That's the secret. And that's what makes this initiative so unique. Okay, it is not primarily about fundraising or programs or buildings, as important as those are. This is about cultivating our hearts, hearing Jesus' invitations, and giving every single one of us a specific, strategic, intentional, immediate way to lean in and say yes to a king who chooses not to shout or make demands, who leans in to us as individuals with goodness and grace and the promise of hope that could heal the world, beginning with each one of us as he whispers. Let me tell you a secret. That's what's on the table in Matthew 13. And in this series and on this journey over the next couple of years, it'll change you. It'll change everything about you. And beyond that, what changes within you will not be able to help but overflow out of you to the world all around you. A profound change in our lives for our good, with a capital G. And also for the good of the world that we're sent out into every day, in real life, in real time, as ambassadors who look and live and show and tell a real-time, real-world answer to the prayer Jesus prayed that we want to join him in. Your kingdom come, your will be done in our world as it is in heaven. So next week, Jesus is going to show us 4 things that can cause us, listen, not to see the answer to the prayer that we're joining him in praying. Check it out. Even if we intend to join him in praying that prayer. Okay, that may be the most important message of this whole 2 years. So set your alarm clock now so you don't miss out on it. But between now and then, can I invite you to do 2 simple, dangerous things this week? First one is to pray the simple, dangerous prayer. At least once every day. Can I challenge you to do that? Your kingdom come, your will be done in my world as it is in heaven. And I told you, if you go to kingdomcomefw.com and look under resources, you'll see some lock screens for your phone if you want a reminder every single day. But to pray the simple, dangerous prayer. And then have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart that wants to draw near to the King, whatever he's up to within you or around you. What if this week you decided to draw near and really try to hear from God? And then from there to take a step, just one, towards whatever you see or hear. To take one step. 3 frogs are sitting on a log. One of them makes a decision to jump off. How many frogs remain on the log? Correct answer is 3. Because making a decision to jump off the log is not the same as jumping off the log. You got to take a step. It may not feel like a big step. It may be a huge one. Totally up to you. Maybe a step towards a relationship where you come to realize the goodness and grace of Jesus isn't ruling the day. A conversation with a kid, maybe a conversation with a parent, a conversation with a neighbor, a step of generosity. I don't even want to give you too many categories or examples because I don't want to put my thumb on the scale in any direction. I just want to invite you to draw near to him, to pray the dangerous prayer before him, to look or listen for areas in your world where the goodness and grace of Jesus don't rule, and make one intentional move in that direction where you sense he may be showing or saying something. And here's what I 100% promise you. Okay, if you'll do that, you will show up next week with a kingdom come story of your own. Because God loves to answer that prayer. You won't stay on the outside, entertained and inspired, but disengaged from where Jesus is doing his very best work this week. Receptive hearts see what resistant hearts miss. And you don't want to miss this. You want to be right there in the middle of it, beginning to see, beginning to hear, with a heart that's just a little more softened than it even is today, because at least in one big area of your life, you're leaning in and learning to trust that his promise is true and it's real and it's good. Jesus says you'll be blessed because you'll be learning to live the secret. Would you bow your head with me? Lord, that's my prayer for me. That's my prayer for us. Your kingdom come. Your goodness and grace rule over every area of our hearts. Your will be done with every single step that we take. Would your kingdom come and your will be done in our world as it is in heaven? Lord, we long for a day when we see it and we live it perfectly. But until that day, Lord, let us live towards it with everything we got. In Jesus' name, amen.
Church, would you stand and worship with us?
How I long to breathe the air of heaven, where pain is gone and mercy fills the streets, to look upon the one who bled to save me and walk with him for all eternity. There will be a day when all will bow before him. face to face with He who died and rose again. Holy, holy is the Lord. And every prayer we prayed in desperation, the songs of faith we sang through doubt and fear. And in the end, we'll see that it was worth it when He returns to wipe away our tears. Oh, there will be a day when all will bow before Him. There will be a day when death will be no more. Standing face to face with He who died and rose again. Holy, holy is the Lord. And on that day, we join the resurrection and stand beside the heroes of the faith. And with one voice, 1,000 generations sing, worthy is the Lamb who was slain. And on that day, we join the resurrection and stand beside the heroes of the faith. And with one voice, 1,000 generations sing, worthy is the Lamb who was slain. Forever He shall reign. So let it be today. We shout the hymn of heaven with angels and the saints. We raise a mighty roar, sing glory to our God, who gave His life beyond the grave. Sing holy, holy is the Lord. So let it be today. We shout the hymn of heaven with angels and the saints. We raise a mighty roar, sing glory to our God, who gave His life beyond the grave. Sing holy, holy is the Lord. Sing holy, holy is the Lord. Say holy, holy is the Lord.
Hey, thanks for watching. If something you heard resonated with you today, we would love to connect with you. Visit doxology.church/connect or leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed today's message and you want to see more, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new videos.